King Adu was once the pride of his kingdom, strong, wise, and feared across the land. But now he lay weak in his grand chamber, the air heavy with the scent of rare herbs and incense. Servants bustled around him, their whispers blending with the rustle of silk curtains. His wife, Queen Sewa, was nowhere to be found. She preferred the glittering markets of the capital, where she spent gold without thought. Rumors swirled that she had taken a lover, a foreign merchant who showered her with exotic jewels. While the king fought for his strength, she danced in her jewels and held feasts that stretched into the night, uncaring that her husband was slipping away. Yet, in the quiet of his suffering, there was one face the king longed for. Her name was Afia. The first time he saw her, she had knelt in the palace gardens, tending to the king's favorite hibiscus flowers. There was a quiet grace in her movements, a calm that had stirred something deep within him. When his illness took hold, it was her presence that soothed him more than the most skilled healers. Afia entered the chamber now, carrying a warm cloth and a bowl of herbal tonic. Her steps were light, but her presence filled the room. The other servants stepped aside as she approached the king's bed. "Your Majesty," she said softly, her voice like the first rain after a long drought. "You must drink this." He opened his eyes, the weight of his crown heavy even in his weakness. "Afia," he murmured. Only with her did his voice soften. "You always come." "I will not leave you," she said, pressing the cloth against his brow. From the moment his illness worsened, the king allowed no other maiden near him. When the head steward brought other maidens to attend to his care, the king dismissed them coldly. No one else's hands could touch him, no one else's voice could soothe him. Only Afia. Even the palace elders, who once held the authority to choose his attendants, were powerless to override his command. Afia alone moved freely within the king's chamber, and her influence over him grew stronger with each passing day. Other maidens grew resentful, but the king paid no heed to their whispers. He would rather be alone with Afia than surrounded by those who viewed him as nothing more than a fading ruler. For weeks, she was his shadow. When others fumbled with trembling hands, Afia was steady. When pain seized him, she stayed by his side, her touch gentle, her words a balm to his soul. The other maidens grew envious, whispering among themselves, but none dared to cross the king's command. He had made it clear, Afia was the only one permitted within his chambers, and with each day, his heart grew heavier, not from sickness, but from the love he knew he should not feel. One night, as the moon hung high, King Adu reached for her hand. "Afia," he whispered, his voice rough but sure. "If I am to live, it will be because of you." Her breath caught in her throat. "I only wish for your health, my king." "And I wish for you," he said, his eyes locking with hers. "Not as a servant, as my person." Afia hesitated, torn between duty and the feelings that had quietly bloomed within her. "Your Majesty, the Queen." "The Queen has abandoned her vows," he said, his tone sharper now. "She does not care if I live or die, but you," he traced his fingers over her wrist, "you breathe life back into me." That touch sent a shiver through her. She tried to speak, but words abandoned her when his fingers curled gently around hers, holding on as though she was his lifeline. "You stay when others leave," he continued, voice low and intimate. "You see me as a man, not just a king." The heat in his gaze made her pulse quicken. The boundaries between them blurred as he pulled her closer. Afia could feel the warmth of his skin beneath her fingertips. She knew the danger, knew the whispers that would come, but in that moment, none of it mattered. "I have dreamed of you," he admitted, his lips inches from hers. "And if dreaming of you is wrong, then I will not seek what is right." Afia trembled. Her heart pounded against her ribs as his thumb brushed along the back of her hand. "Your Majesty," she whispered, though her resolve weakened with every breath. "This cannot be." "But it already is," he murmured, drawing her down beside him. "Deny it if you must, but not tonight." As days passed, the king's health began to return, but so did the whispers. A few palace maidens had gathered in a shaded corner near the water fountain, supposedly on a break from their duties, but their hushed voices and darting eyes betrayed the true purpose of their gathering. "She's still in his chambers," whispered Nana, the youngest of the group, wide-eyed with fascination. I saw her with my own eyes, carrying a silver tray, like she's queen already." "As if being a healer makes her fit to share his bed," scoffed Adwoa, an older maiden with sharp features and a sharp tongue to match. "She forgets she was scrubbing floors not long ago." Murmurs of agreement passed between them. "Maybe she's put something in his food," said Nana darkly, lowering her voice. "A love charm, perhaps. Why else would the king turn away every other maiden?" "Love charm or not," said Adwa, "she's nothing. A phase. When he's well again, he'll come to his senses. A king doesn't wed a servant." Laughter rippled through the group like wind-rustling palm leaves, but their amusement was short-lived. A heavy silence fell over them as the shadows shifted, then a slow, deliberate clap echoed across the courtyard. The maidens turned, mouths parting in horror. King Adu stood a few feet away, flanked by two silent guards, his frame tall and lean, but regal as ever, despite his recent illness. His eyes, sharp as obsidian, burned into them, not with rage, but with cold, cutting disappointment. "I see the sun is not the only thing warm this afternoon," he said smoothly. "The gossip burns hotter than the fire in the royal kitchen." The maidens dropped into panicked bows, knees trembling against the marble. None dared to meet his gaze. He stepped forward slowly, the embroidered hem of his royal robe brushing the stones. "Tell me, Adwoa," he said, voice like quiet thunder, "is it your duty to serve your king, or to slander the one who stayed beside him when others fled?" Adwoa quivered. My king, I didn't mean—" "You meant exactly what you said," he interrupted, his tone sharper now. "And I heard all of it. Every word you spit like venom behind her back." He turned his eyes to the rest of them. "Each of you has forgotten your place. You laugh and whisper while the woman you envy saved your king's life." Nana sniffled, clearly close to tears. King Adu's gaze softened only slightly. "If Afia poured love into my cup, it was not witchcraft, but care. If I have chosen her company, it is because she gave me something none of you did. Loyalty. Silence. Grace." He paused, then added quietly, "And if she is queen in my eyes, it is because she earned her place, not with titles, but with her heart." None of the maidens spoke. He straightened, the king in full. "From this day forward, any word spoken against her shall be considered a word spoken against your king, and I do not pardon treason lightly." He turned, robes sweeping behind him as he walked away, leaving the maidens in a breathless, shamed silence. As the sound of his footsteps faded, Adwa collapsed onto the fountain's edge, face pale. "We are finished," she whispered. "No," Nana replied softly, a newfound awe in her voice. "We just witnessed what love looks like." Queen Sewa heard the rumors of the maiden who held her husband's heart. One evening, she swept into the king's chamber, her golden robes shimmering like the sun. Her eyes burned with fury as she found Afia seated beside him. "You dare disgrace me with a servant," Sewa hissed, her voice cutting through the air like a dagger. Afia lowered her gaze, but King Adu's voice was unwavering. "You abandoned me, Sewa. You turned your back when I needed you most. Afia is more a queen than you ever were." Humiliated, the queen stormed from the chamber, but she was not done. Behind her beauty lay a heart that thirsted for vengeance. One night, a vial of poison found its way into the king's next tonic, but Afia, ever watchful, noticed the unusual bitterness. Without hesitation, she poured the liquid away and replaced it with a fresh brew. Her suspicion grew, and she quietly investigated, soon uncovering the queen's treachery. The king's fury knew no bounds when the truth was revealed. Calling his most trusted guards, he had Queen Sewa brought before the royal court. "You sought to kill me," he said, his voice echoing through the grand hall. "You have betrayed your kingdom and your king." Sewa's beauty twisted into a mask of rage as the guards seized her. "You would throw me aside for a mere servant?" she spat. "She is not a mere servant," the king declared, his gaze softening as it met Afia's. "She is the woman who saved my life, the only one I trust." Stripped of her title, Sewa was exiled beyond the borders of the kingdom, her jewels and finery left behind. Some said the merchant she loved abandoned her the moment she lost her crown, but Sewa's thirst for vengeance would not die in exile. From the shadows, she began to weave alliances with disgruntled nobles who resented the king's favor toward Afiya. For months, she conspired to reclaim her crown by any means necessary. Afiya was not blind to the dangers. Though she now wore the crown, she felt the weight of Sewa's shadow creeping ever closer. One night, as she walked through the royal gardens, she heard a rustling behind her. Turning swiftly, she met the eyes of a masked figure, an assassin sent by Sewa. But Afiya was no longer a defenseless maiden. With quick reflexes, she disarmed the attacker and left him bound for the king's guards to interrogate. When the king heard of the attempt on her life, his rage burned hotter than ever. He doubled the guard around Afiya, but more than that, he began a campaign to root out those loyal to Sewa, ensuring his kingdom's stability and his queen's safety. Despite the dangers, love deepened between them. Afiya's heart was no longer a secret. She had fought for her place by his side, and now she held it fiercely. And while Sewa plotted in the shadows, Afiya and Adu ruled side by side, united not just by love, but by the strength they shared. Yet in the dark corners of the kingdom, whispers of rebellion grew louder. And though Afiya had claimed her crown, the battle to keep it had only just begun.